Hello and welcome to Team Franco Bodybuilding. This is Joe, of course, and thank you for listening. And before I get on with the actual episode of number 62, I just want to thank everyone. My clicks or listens over the last few months have exceeded my expectations, so I do appreciate all the feedback. And I'm starting to get like emails or IG messages saying thank you for all the great work. It's really helped me during my prep or my weight loss goals. So I do appreciate it. I just try to keep it real, nothing fancy. A lot of it's anecdotal only because I've been doing this for many, many years and I've worked with all sorts of types of people. So thank you again, and I do appreciate when you guys share it on social media or tell your friends, because my goal is just to put out information that I believe in through experience and just to keep it, basic, nothing too extreme, as you know me by now. So episode 62, and I'm going to touch upon and go over really the one category of people that struggle the most. The people that are in good shape, but they can't make progress, as the title discusses. As a coach for so many years, I work with a variety of people, as you know. Those that compete, those who want to build their body, want to lose weight, and everything in between, okay? Now, those who are already in good shape, meaning that they are fit, okay, to the average person, they are fit or they look great. But typically that person is type A, harder on themselves, and they're not often happy. That could be a whole nother episode. So when it comes to someone that wants to lose 3 pounds, 5 pounds, 8 pounds, but they are already looking good and exercise a hell of a lot, they tend to struggle even more. All right? So hold on to that thought. If you're one of those people, continue to listen. Now, conversely, you take someone who is definitely overweight, who is inactive. That's an not say easier fix, because there might be some psychological things with food and whatnot and relationships. But on the surface, if you put them in a caloric restrictive diet or get them to eat healthier, get them to move again, they will have progress pretty fast. I mean, they have more body weight to lose, so it's going to come off easier. It's just simple math. So you take someone that's, 5'9" and 250 pounds and never a male that never weight trained is pretty inactive. You just get them going, moving their body, they're going to be burning more calories than they take in. And then you straighten up their diet a little bit, it's only going to help even more. So their path initially is going to be great. So that's why a lot of times when people start a diet, I've had such great success, but those last few pounds, hence when they get in good shape, are more difficult to lose. And that's what I'll get to. And then you have, the person that's thin, skinny fat. You hear that term where they look good in their clothes, but they don't look good naked, where they're carrying extra body fat. Muscle development is really not there. And they can also have pretty fast results by applying basic heavy weight training and intensity principles of pushing themselves and typically eating more, because usually that person has, they look good in clothes. They, that same guy that's 5'8", that's not 250, but maybe 5'8" and 150 pounds. Well, according to BMI, they're in great shape, but really they're not. So, you get that male weight training and typically eating more or straightening up their diet with, better choices, and they're going to gain muscle. And they may even gain weight because they're gaining muscle or their body composition changes. So that is, again, nothing's easy, but that is an easier to address. So going back to what I initially started saying, you have that person that has been weight training or exercising for 10 plus years, that does look good in clothes, that does also look good in a bathing suit and naked, but they are struggling to lose maybe 5 pounds, 8 pounds. So how does that person reach that goal? Well, again, happiness is important, right? You sometimes rely on the scale. Issue number one is that you rely on the scale to dictate your mood. And I've talked about this a lot in old podcasts. And we're all victims of that, okay? I'm doing my prep. I see the scale go up and down, but I generally look at the trend. I'll weigh myself anywhere from 5 to 7 times a week, look at the average, and then take it from there and whatnot. And actually, that leads to me, I haven't done a updated prep podcast, so I'm hoping to do one this weekend, and I'll put that out there to give you guys an update how things are going. So anyway, you rely on that scale, and you often lose sight of that you are in good shape, right? I mean, you are in good shape, so you need to be happy with yourself and sometimes be real with yourself. But now you're saying, Joe, is this what this podcast is all about? Just, suck it up, deal with it, and you're not going to lose that 5 to 8 pounds. No. But I think you need to have a clearer picture and understand that you are in great shape, you've worked hard, it's paying off, you're healthy. So don't be too hard on yourself, You have to lighten up a little bit, because when you have more stress and anxiety on losing these few extra pounds, it's going to make it more difficult on your body. That's a fact. All right? So what needs to be done? Now, again, that person that is in good shape, does everything right, but can't lose a few pounds, they are pretty consistent with their diet, but are they really? How consistent are they? Because there are people that I've worked with before, they'll nail Monday through Friday, and the weekends they'll let loose a little bit as a reward. Now, if you're happy with that, and you're not looking to lose those few extra pounds, that's great, okay? I mean, it is what it is. But if you are in a category that just needs to lose a little bit, those weekends count just as much as Monday through Friday. Because if you don't have that consistency, as I did one of my earlier podcasts, consistency is king, and it's one of the most listened to ones. If you do not have that, you're just going to be spinning your wheels. You need to be consistent 7 days a week, because how else are you going to learn how the diet is really going to work and to make the necessary changes? So weekends count, guys. It really does. Now, if you're okay about letting loose and realizing the scale may go up a pound or two and then it goes back down, so be it. Again, happiness is key. But if you're driving yourself crazy, you need to string at least a couple weekends in a row to learn what is best for your body, so then you can address it and make the necessary changes to your diet. It's that simple. Now, Monday through Friday, or Sunday through Saturday, how consistent are you? Going off of the theme of being consistent. Are you really counting everything? Are you throwing in, a couple bites of this or that here, or your kid's food, or you know what? A bodybuilder or someone that's competing, a bikini, whatever, they're counting every single little thing because they don't want to mess up. They want to be consistent, and they need to have that dedication and discipline. So if you're also in the realm of like, yeah, my weekends are pretty good, but, occasionally I'll eat a little bit more here, or, lick the spoon, or that adds up over time. All right. Now, I'm not trying to fall into the trap of hardcore and everything. I'm just trying to get you guys over a hump. If you're in that range of just needing to lose those few extra pounds, you need to track everything. Therefore, when you track everything, right or wrong, you're building up more data. You're going to have a greater sampling of what you're doing, then to learn to see if that diet actually works or not for you. And if it doesn't, you can make the necessary changes, or you talk to your coach, or that's what I would do. So it's tracking, balls out tight, just balls out tight. Did I just say that? tracking needs to be super, super tight if you're stuck, all right? And you're trying to break that plateau. That is super, super key. Now, some people, obviously they like that freedom because they're in good shape, they're a little bit loose, and increases their anxiety if they think they need to track even tighter. Well, the solution to that is doing like a diet burst. What does that mean? Do it for 2 to 3 weeks. And then knowing that, not that you would reward yourself after the 2 or 3 weeks of being super tight, but knowing that, you know what? I gave that effort. It did work. And then that could possibly snowball and momentum on wanting you to continue or to bring in more calories. But it's a great way to show you that you can do it or not, okay? Because I think people fall and they become, fall into that trap of just being, overly content. But at the same time, they bitch and moan that they're not losing those few extra pounds. You have that 1 week that's super tight, the weekend's off, or they may go away, or anything that may happen, and then they get upset with themselves. Well, you're the only one to blame, right? Because you're not doing yourself the favor of being super tight. That's why, when people compete, I've talked about numerous times about, 12 weeks out is bullshit and, should be year round. I mean, not necessarily in a, caloric deficit. But when you set that goal, and that's my last point that I want to address, set that goal of just losing those few extra pounds, so you hold yourself more accountable. That is what it really comes down to, guys. I can't stress that enough because through personal experience of working with people all these years, people will come to me. They're like, they look good. I see their pictures. I'm like, hey, you're great. How's your diet? Oh, it's good. But then you learn that they're maybe not as consistent with their diet, over the weekend. They snack a little bit and don't count things during the week. So I then question them, how bad do you want it, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. If you think you're going to be that much happier, being 5, 3, 8 pounds lighter, then you have to make the sacrifice. You must have the discipline to do it. That's what it comes down to. But if you're going through that journey and you're doing that diet burst of 2 weeks and you think this sucks, then back off. It's okay. It doesn't mean that you're a failure or you're a loser, but you have to give yourself the opportunity to try, right? That's what it comes down to. Give it a go. Your life's not going to end. I've had people before, they start their diet after a week and they say, well, am I ever going to eat pizza again? Well, of course. Let's reach your goal. Or fit the pizza into your diet plan. It shouldn't be an all or nothing attitude and be so, not absolute. What's the word I'm looking for? It'll come to me. It shouldn't be so rigid where in your head that, you're dieting and then you're like, oh, fuck, I can never eat this again. That's not necessarily true, okay? Because you can then recover and do a diet out and slowly bring it up. Because again, if you're that person in that range of just wanting to lose, cycling calories is a great method, throughout the year where you do these diet bursts for 2 to 3 weeks because you can hang on and do it. You drop it down, you push yourself that much harder, and then you come up a little bit to maintenance, for 2 or 3 weeks or for a month, whatever it is. It depends on the person. And then you go back into a diet burst again. It's that simple. I mean, it's very similar to, and I've done the podcast about, reverse dieting or recovery dieting or whatever, exit plan dieting after one competes. Now, obviously, how you diet before you reach your goal matters a lot. I've talked about this 1,000 times, and you can look at those podcasts about exit plans. But then you come out of it, right? You come out of it knowing, and that you're going to bring in more calories, more, food, more variety because you can fit it in. And that's what the diet bursts and then maintenance levels, will help you. So this is just something that, I talk about with my clients. I'm sure other coaches, if you're listening, you get this a lot. It's not the person that is overweight, because basically when you're, 100 pounds overweight, 50 pounds overweight, making those slight lifestyle changes will make a difference, and you're going to have the progress that much quicker, okay? And then you have the person that's, skinny fat, that's just thin or lean, but they're really not, from exercise or dieting. The same idea. You can build your body up a little bit quicker. It's the person that needs to lose those last few pounds, for their daily lifestyle that seems to have the biggest trouble. And to review, it is the hardest thing to do, because your body gets used to being in its own skin. You've been this body weight for years. You look good. You're doing all the exercise. But when it comes to diet, consistency is king. You need to be super tight with it so you can learn. You can do greater deficits for 2-week periods, and then learn how your body responds. But more importantly, you want to be happy through the process. If you're finding yourself miserable, then maybe this is not where you should be, 5 pounds lighter. Be happy where you're at, okay? I think that is the big take-home point that I'm just realizing now. Be happy where you're at. But don't make it bigger what it really is. Where you diet down hard, you come out of it. Diet down hard. I mean, it's not yo-yo dieting, because I'm not telling you to then binge out and blow out and eat all this crap and stuff. That's like the weekend dieter, where they're super tight, they kill themselves, or they don't hardly eat, they eat like a bird, and the weekends it's pizza and beer. No, that is an eating disorder. I'm trying to address the people that are stuck. They just need that little bump, that reminder of what to do to get past that sticking point. So hopefully this one has been helpful. You guys take home some points from this podcast. Again, I want to thank everyone for listening. If you have any questions or concerns, fitfranco@verizon.net. Email is the best way to get in touch with me. Any ideas for future podcasts, please hit me up. Interested in coaching for any type of goal, Team Franco Bodybuilding, you can check out my website. But then again, hitting me up is the best way. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.